This is Cat Patrol from Lesson Book 3B, Faber Piano Adventures. I'm going to do a performance first, and then I'll give you a bunch of practice tips. All right, so something we need to talk about first before getting into the actual piece is the key of the piece. This piece is in the key of D minor. It has one flat in it, B flat. If you just glance at the key signature, you might be thinking F major, but remember that every key signature has two possible keys, a major key and a minor key. A good, quick way of checking the key of a piece is look at the final note of the piece. If the final note of this piece had been an F, my first assumption would have been, okay, this is an F major. But the final note is a D. It's a really low D. It's the lowest D on the keyboard. It's loud, staccato. It definitely signifies to me that this piece is in the key of D minor. So let's play a D minor scale just to make sure we understand the key signature and what this key sounds like. Starting on D, this is the natural minor scale. D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C, D. Now I'm going to play the harmonic minor scale because that's the scale that's actually used in this piece. Harmonic minor takes the natural minor and raises the seventh tone of the scale by half a step. Here's the B flat, here's the raised seventh, C sharp. Love the sound of the harmonic minor scale. It sounds so interesting, and that's why this scale is used so often in pieces. That raised seventh just makes everything a little bit more awesome, I would say. The tempo marking on this piece is vivace. Dotted quarter note equals 116 to 132 beats a minute. That's very fast. You can go a little faster than I was playing. I was playing more at 120. But when you start out practicing this piece, there's no need to be really fast. In fact, if you start off trying to play it fast and you've never played it before, you're likely going to run into these starts and stops like that, and that's really clunky and a little disjointed. And so the better practice is to just start off slowly at a slow enough tempo that you can play consistently without a lot of those stops and starts and gaps in between the measures. Pauses at the bar lines is what I'm always saying to my students. So you might want to start out more like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you start out really slowly like that, it gives you enough time to check your notes, check your fingerings, observe the dynamics and actually practice them, and make sure that the rhythms are working out the way you think they are looking on the page. If you start out really fast, you're not going to probably won't get the chance to observe all the dynamics, and then you'll have to go back and practice that later. It just ends up taking more time in the long run. So start with a slow tempo. Another thing that makes this piece really interesting is the articulations written in. The slurs for legato and the staccato marks and the accent marks and the tenuto marks are all really important. Wait, I said accent marks. Oh yeah, I do see some over on page 25. Tenuto marks are a little confusing sometimes, so I'm going to go over those. You probably are familiar with what a legato is, like in measures 1 to 2, the right hand. That's all legato until that final note, so la da 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 da. That's really smooth, instead of non-legato, which would be like this. No, we want it nice and smooth. There's the staccato. Staccato is in the left hand mostly throughout the piece. Very short. I always tell my students, play it like the keys are hot, like you don't want to press down. Now there's no need to bounce way off the key. That doesn't do anything but make it harder for you to find the keys again. So just keep your bouncy feeling kind of low. Keep it light. This is piano anyway, so not loud. Nice and light. Now, here I am at measure 9. This is the first place where the left hand is not staccato anymore. It's actually marked tenuto. Tenuto is the dash over the dotted quarter notes that you see. The tenuto is telling you to make sure that you're holding the notes for the full value. And what that means basically is don't accidentally short the notes. Make sure that they're getting the full value of the beats that belong to those notes. In this case, it's dotted quarter note, and that's 1.5 beats typically, but in 6/8, it's 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got to make sure my fingers stay down for the full beat. So you might be looking at these notes and saying, but there's still dots, there's still staccato. But those dots are lengthening dots. They're on the side of the note. They mean that the note gets its normal value plus half of that value again. So there's a big difference between lengthening dots and staccato dots. So in this instance, you're holding the notes down, not staccato, hold them down. There's no rest in this measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Staccato. Again. Here it comes. So the tenuto is making a really nice contrast with the staccato and the legato from earlier, which just means that this piece has a lot of different textures in it. A lot of articulations make for a more interesting piece. It makes it a little more challenging to play, but that's fun, right? It makes you sound like a better pianist because you're getting to use all these different kinds of touches. The light staccato, the heavier forte, tenuto, and then those smooth, quiet legatos. All of those add up to a really interesting sounding piece. Now, another thing about this one is the counting. It's in 6/8, so you want to be comfortable counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way through. Once you're up to a faster performance tempo, you can count it in 2. You can go 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a, or just 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that'll save your mouth and your voice a lot of grief from all that counting. Another thing we need to look at here is how do you work in the coda? Are you following these signs? So when you play this piece, obviously you start at measure 1, you go all the way through to measure 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. And when you get to 27, you're going to see this skinny double bar. That's telling you that's the end of a section. And the words above that measure are DC al coda. That means da capo al coda. Da capo, just think of cap, like a cap on your head. Da capo means to the head of the song or to the beginning of the song. So anytime you see DC, you have to go back to the beginning. And this is telling you to go to the beginning and play until you see the sign that says al coda or to coda in this case, which would be at measure 16. So when you get through measure 27, you're here, go back to the beginning, play all that, and you get up to, say, measure 15. So I played 15, 16, and then it says to coda. So before you go on to the next measure, you have to just drop down to the coda. The coda is the second line up from the bottom of the page. It's where that little round symbol with the plus sign through it is, the coda, and that's where you play the coda to the end. And the very last note of the song has this interesting symbol above it, SFZ. That stands for sforzando, which is a suddenly loud, very accented note. It's a great way to end a song. You can either end a song very quietly with a staccato note, and it will draw a lot of attention to it, or you can end it very loudly with a staccato note, and you get a lot of attention. Either way is great. It just depends on the kind of mood that you want to end a song with. And in this case, the composer wanted loud, sort of like a pouncy cat type of thing, I think, since this is called Cat Patrol. So the cat is pouncing loudly, and I love to just sort of spring my finger up off that last note. In this case, yeah, I'm going way far away from the key, but I don't have to play any more keys, so it doesn't matter if I get far away from it. I don't have to find it again. So I just like to do a big like that. It's dramatic, it looks really good, and it looks like the end of the piece, which it is. So it makes kind of a nice ending. Anyway, those are all my tips for practicing Cat Patrol. This is a great piece. I hope that you enjoy it. And let me know if you have any questions. You can leave them in the comments below.